I changed my mind. I did not in a million years think that this plant would ever get so big. The current state of my Hoya Heuchkeliana, it's beautiful, but remember this video? But my point exactly. Yeah, you probably don't. That's me about a year ago talking about the most difficult Hoya in my collection at the time. I had been growing Hoya for about 6 months in that video, and I was trying really hard to get those big, beautiful Hoya that I'd seen in so many videos. But it's been about a year. Do I still feel the same? I'm gonna share with you if I think those Hoya are still difficult or if I was just, inexperienced. For starters, what do I characterize as difficult? Because to be fair, what's difficult for me may not be difficult for you. In my eyes, if a plant is at least 3 or more of the following 6 things that I'm going to talk about, then that plant's pretty difficult. If a plant loses leaves easily, rots easily, is tough to propagate, not flexible with light, meaning it needs consistent bright light. You can't just put it in a window and it'll be fine. If it's not resilient or a pest magnet, in my opinion, that's a little bit of a tricky plant. Ready? Let's start with plant number 10. This one might surprise you. It is this one, my Hoya laconosa silver or super silver. And we were going great. We had a very good run. It was looking beautiful. I mean, it still looks really good now. All the leaves were plump and healthy. And then I went away for a few days. And when I went away, the reservoir still had water in it. So I thought, oh, it'll be fine. Like, you know me, getting a bit too comfortable. And I thought it would be fine. And when I came back, the reservoir was completely dry. It still looked fine. When I put water back into it, that's when we had the shock. So the plant started to show some extreme wrinkling of the leaves. I'm hoping that you can see this on camera, but I'll also be adding some additional shots so that you can get a good idea of what I'm talking about. But the leaves just got extremely wrinkled. And this is all too familiar. I've seen so many people's versions of this plant with the same difficult wrinkling on it. If I lost this plant, would I repurchase it? Repurchase is such a strong word. I'm not sure if I would repurchase this Hoya if I lost it. Don't get me wrong, it's beautiful. I'm not sure if I would spend money on another one, but I would take a cutting of it. So if I lost it, I don't think I'd repurchase it, but because it propagates so easily, I think I'll just get a cutting and grow a new one that way. I have 2 super silvers. So take a look and let me know if you think I agree with my initial thoughts that this Hoya is difficult. The plant that you saw in that first video, this is it now. The same trellis, the same plant, this is it now. I also got some more of this plant at Home Depot, even if I said I wouldn't repurchase it, but I saw it at Home Depot for I think $1. So I bought a couple plants, split it with my mom and put them together. And just by the look, this should tell you what you need to know. 100% yes. I think the Heuchkeliana Super Silver is a difficult Hoya. 1 minute it can be growing beautifully and blooming for you, and if you look at it sideways, it can just start to drop leaves like crazy and just get wrinkled like crazy. This one has been this size, at least a little bit smaller, for a long time, and not much has come of it, as you can see. It was battling thrips for a long time, and I put a batch of beneficials on it, and that seemed to have done the trick and eradicated it. And I'm not surprised because this is a really small plant. So I find beneficials on a really tiny plant works well. This plant, 100%, it rots easily, it drops leaves easily, it needs very consistent light. It cannot handle any inconsistent light. It's just a difficult Hoya. Would I repurchase it? It's funny, I said no the first time, and I did, and I actually still mean it. I would not repurchase this plant. Yes, I got it just because it was $1. I mean, come on, it was $1. And the first one was struggling. So yes, I replaced it. If it was any more than that, or maybe if it still was $1, would I buy it? Probably not. I think I would just get a cutting from someone, from my mom or someone, if I ever lost this plant. I do think it is a lovely Hoya to have in your collection. It blooms profusely. When it's happy, it's such a delight. It's such an amazing plant to grow. It's difficult both when it's juvenile and as an adult. I think this is finally recovering. It's super dusty because it's been on my floor in my bedroom under a south window. I leave it there because I wanted to try growing one of them in an organic mix and one in pond. So the one in pond that you just saw, that's actually it looking a little bit better. And the organic mix one is throwing roots down into the reservoir, but still for a long time. When initially it put the roots into the reservoir, it would lose leaves. Oh my goodness. I think it's best to grow this plant in pond. But again, even then, I still think this is a tricky plant. Very easy to get pests. I do find I get pests on it often. I don't have to say much. I think a lot of us can agree that this is a very temperamental Hoya. It annoys me a lot. The next plant on my list is the Hoya nicholsoniae New Guinea Ghost. Let's take a look at what mine looked like a year ago. It is a good grower, but it also can sometimes be finicky. Let me share it with you. The Hoya New Guinea Ghost. I think it's the nicholsoniae New Guinea Ghost. This one, I wonder if I should call it difficult. It's sort of in between being difficult and easy. The reason I say this is, for starters, this one for me was a little bit hard to propagate. So when I got it as a cutting, and I do notice that this is a thirstier Hoya, and that I did not know in the beginning. So I did have a hard time propagating this Hoya. And the tricky thing with thirsty Hoya is sometimes it's hard to know how much is too much. You know, when they're thirsty, it can be such a slippery slope because it's very easy to overwater it. And it's also easy to underwater it because it's thirsty. And so that's one of my challenges with this plant. It was tough to propagate. It took a long time to get established. And I think it's also one of these Hoya that's waiting until the roots are really established before it starts pushing new growth. And because of that, you never quite know where you stand with it, because you're like, are you happy? Are you sad? I don't know. And we were on a good run. We were on a good stretch. It was growing well. What I like about it is that it grows in clusters. So it's very easy to have a full plant, a full one of this. And also if it's getting the right amount of light, and this one, it's a light lover. It loves high amounts of light. If you could put it under a grow light, it would thrive for you. And it loves to push out these tendrils, and it sun stresses beautifully. And the more light you give it, the faster this plant is going to take off for you. So because I have this under ambient conditions, it's in a west facing window, I am a bit more at the mercy of the weather. Good thing I made this video because it is super thirsty. Empty reservoir, don't do that. Don't do it at all. So 1 year later, this is what my nicholsoniae New Guinea Ghost looks like. It is a great grower. It's a fantastic plant. Let's start from the beginning. Do I still think that this is a hard Hoya? The answer is no. I do not think this is a hard Hoya anymore. I do think this Hoya can be tricky when it's juvenile. When it's really young, if you don't know this plant, it's going to be hard to figure out in the beginning. If you just bought it without watching a video and you're just like, oh, I found this pretty plant, let me give it a try, it is going to be difficult. So let's say you don't have this plant, or you just got this plant, or you're interested in getting this plant. Here are some things that you want to remember. This is a very thirsty plant, and I think semi-hydro is one of the best ways to grow it. The reason that I don't think it's difficult anymore is because I think it just needs constant access to water. I think it's a very, very thirsty Hoya, and once it can't get the water that it needs, it will stop growing, the new leaves will fall off. It won't be as fun as it can be, but it's a very fast grower. I want to say it's resilient. I do think if a couple leaves fall off and you mess it up, I do think it catches itself back easily. You can chop it back and it will just keep growing again. I do think it's a very easy Hoya, and I've heard some people say that it's not difficult for them at all, and that makes sense because once you meet those conditions, it's a pretty happy Hoya. The only thing though is I do think because of its very thin leaves, I do think it is susceptible to thrips and other pests. It doesn't have a very strong defense system. I find that I have to constantly be checking this plant for pests, and there's always a little something brewing somewhere on this plant, which I find a little bit annoying. But for the most part, no, I wouldn't classify it as difficult. If somebody wanted to get this plant, I wouldn't shy them away from it, but I would advise them to remember the key elements of this plant. Semi-hydro, keep it hydrated, don't dry it out, which is probably why mine is susceptible to pests, because I keep letting it dry out. Just let it do its thing. Give it a trellis and it will just keep growing nicely for you. It requires minimal maintenance when it's established. So I changed my mind. Would I repurchase this plant? In all honesty, let's take a look. Would I repurchase it if I lost it? No. I know, it's a shocker. The reason is because, like I mentioned, it's a little bit of a pest magnet. I just wish it wasn't so susceptible. I wish it sort of fought back a little bit. Thrips seems to take over and nest very easily on this plant. And the plant, to me, it's very pretty, it's beautiful, but I want a little more from it. I know it can sun stress beautifully. I've seen people sun stress this plant beautifully, but mine doesn't seem to sun stress. The leaf seems to burn and boil before it even gets to the point of sun stressing. I also find that it's never bloomed for me. So maybe if it was an easy bloomer, I think maybe that would make me more excited about this plant. But this plant doesn't make me as excited as some of my other Hoya. So no, I wouldn't go out of my way to purchase another one of these plants. If I lost it and someone gifted me a cutting, yeah, I'd take it, yeah, I'd grow it again, but I wouldn't go out of my way to get another one of these. And it's pretty, I do recommend it. I like it, and I don't love it, and I try to keep plants in my collection and repurchase plants if I lose them that I love. The next plant, the Hoya Tequila Sunrise. Let's see what I thought of it when I first got it. Is my Tequila Sunrise, and yes, this is what it looks like. In my defense, I got this plant as a cutting, just like this one and the New Guinea Ghost that you saw before it. I did get them as cuttings, and this one I've had for a while. I've had this plant, I think I got it in January. I'm a sucker for big leaves. I love really like nice full looking leaves, and that's what drew me to the Tequila Sunrise. So I was able to find a cutting online on Facebook Marketplace, and sometimes it is just the quality of the cutting that you get that can make a plant difficult. And so is that the case with this plant? I don't know. So it could be just my type of care and that type of Hoya. When I got it, I believe it was in soil, and I let it stay in there for a while. It was happy, but I'm not very good with Hoya in soil, especially they're not in a self-watering setup. So I decided to switch it to pond, and then it started rotting. And so I have experienced root rot with this plant multiple times. I've had to take it out of the medium, wash the roots off, start it over. I've had to restart this plant so many times. And this time it's in perlite, and it's in my prop box. It's in the south facing window, and this seems to be the happiest that it has been. You can tell that it's liking the extra humidity it's getting in there because it's pushing out some roots along the stem there, and it's starting to root very nicely. It seems to be doing better, but it just hasn't done anything. So it could be me, it could be the specimen I got, it could be maybe this variety of Hoya, I don't know. But the Tequila Sunrise doesn't feel like a beautiful vacation on the beach, relaxing and happy. It doesn't feel like that to me. It feels quite challenging and finicky. Seriously, that plant was difficult for me in the beginning. It really, really was. And if you notice a trend with some of the plants that I'm sharing, some of them, when they were juvenile, I did not have them in self-watering pots. And so when you put some of these Hoya into self-watering pots, like I always say, put your Hoya in self-watering pots, they will grow beautifully for you. So this is my Hoya's Tequila Sunrise, and you've seen it a couple times. If you've watched my videos, you've seen it recently, and 100,000% I was wrong about this plant. It is not difficult at all. I think, again, me learning plants, learning Hoya and trying to grow them without self-watering pots, that wasn't my strength, trying to grow Hoya outside of self-watering pots. Self-watering pots protect me a lot, and I love this plant so very much. It is not the fastest grower, and it's super dusty. It's not the fastest grower by any means. I'll give it that, because since then I don't think I've lost any leaves since that video, and this is all that I've had since that video. It has the most beautiful sun stressing. Oh my goodness, so gorgeous. It lives in my south facing window. Like, it can survive under a window. I'm not saying that none of these Hoya can survive under a window, but I feel like some plants can thrive in a window versus some plants, they thrive under grow lights, just because they need constant and consistent light in order for them to grow beautifully. So if you have any of these Hoya, I'm not saying that they cannot grow in a window. If you don't want to buy grow lights, you don't have to, you can, but the growth is going to be different. It's not going to be fast growing. It may not flourish the same as a plant that's growing under grow lights. For example, my Hoya, the first Hoya I showed you, my Heuchkeliana Super Silver, I do think that can grow in a window, but again, I don't think it will flourish. I think it will flourish under grow lights. The Hoya, the other one, the nicholsoniae New Guinea Ghost, I also think that's a plant that, because of where I live, once again, I've talked about light a lot in my channel. I live in Ontario, Canada. So if you're in Florida, if you're in Texas, we cannot compare lighting conditions. I'm talking about where I live in the world. I think the nicholsoniae New Guinea Ghost will do better under grow lights than in a window, because it just needs that consistent light. However, let's go back to the Tequila Sunrise. This plant, I think, has pushed most of this growth for me. Am I thinking that? No, a lot of it has grown for me under grow lights, but I would say about 50% of this has grown in my south facing window. I do think some Hoya grow better with natural light and direct sunlight than grow lights. 100% I have noticed that. I cannot call like for a fact which Hoya is like that, like which one grows better. These are only hunches, because I'm pretty sure there's someone out there who's growing all of their Hoya under grow lights and they're growing beautifully. But for me, some perform better under direct sunlight than grow lights, and this one is one of them. It grows well under Sansi lights, and I feel like Sansi lights, rays of that light mimic sunlight very well, and this plant likes Sansi lights or direct sunlight. It bloomed for me, I said a whole lot recently, and it had the most beautiful blooms. I don't remember, I think I couldn't smell it because I had a cold, or it didn't have a scent. But something cool that I noticed that I didn't share with you in my last video when I featured this plant is that the blooms seem to close at night. They open during the day when the sun comes out, when the sun touches them, and then when the sun goes away, they seem to close. The blooms didn't last very long, so I wasn't able to see this or confirm this 100%, but I have a pretty good hunch, and I think I Googled it and Google said the same thing. But I think this is one of the only Hoya that I've ever seen in all of my blooming Hoya, which is not a whole lot, but in all of my blooming Hoya, where the blooms close completely at night and then reopen. That was super cool. 100% I would repurchase the Hoya Tequila Sunrise. Love this plant. I don't think it's difficult, just slow growing and needs a self-watering pot, and also desperately needs to be repotted ASAP, because I think this is way too small for it. That's for another video. Okay, let's go down to plant number 7, and that is the Hoya Rebecca. Yes, this plant and we have been through the ups and downs, and I am also surprised at how high this plant is on my ranking, on my list. If it was maybe 3 months ago, this plant would have been maybe in my top 3 most difficult Hoya. For me, this Rebecca does not want to sun stress. It will burn before it sun stresses. And again, with plants, with everything, you need to acclimate it. You can't just take it from a lower light condition and just shove it into full light. It is extremely sensitive to being repotted. Even when I try my very best not to touch the roots, it is still quite sensitive. It could be my care. It just looks like it should be an easy Hoya. It's not variegated. It's all green. I just feel like it should be so much easier. But just when I was starting to celebrate this plant yet again, the Hoya Rebecca, it just stays true to itself. It doesn't want to disappoint me. I think it probably knows that I think it's difficult, and it just wants to live up to my idea of it. I don't know. Or maybe this plant is difficult. Like, look at this. Look at this. Look. We were doing so well. So needless to say, yes, I do think the Hoya Rebecca is still difficult. So here's the thing. Does it propagate easily? Yes, it propagates easily. But this plant seems to be so fussy. It has such a delicate root system. I have restarted this plant so many times. I have lost count. I know other people are like, their Rebecca's are amazing. It grows beautifully for them. For some reason, it seems like it grows as easily as a sunrise for some people. But for me, this plant, I did catch a break. All I did was top water it. So it's growing currently in pond. So if it's one thing I've confirmed, it seems to be happier in pond than in an organic mix. And that seems to be the case with a lot of my difficult Hoya. Very delicate. I mean, all Hoya are very delicate in their root systems, but ones that seem to rot easily, they seem to prefer semi-hydro. And so when I use semi-hydro, when I have my plants in pond, I sometimes top water, bottom water. Most times I aim to always bottom water all of my plants, but I was in a little bit of a rush recently, and I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm just gonna top water my plants in pond. And this is the only plant that rebelled against that. It just started dropping a million leaves. Anyways, I have more than one plant in there. It just seems to be the main plant that rotted, and the others seem to have survived. So what I'm going to have to do is chop this off and try to salvage it. And then, yeah, and everything else is just rotting in here. This is so annoying because I just got this plant happy. I actually chopped, it was longer, I actually chopped some parts of it and stuck it back in there, and these parts are doing well. And then, oh my goodness. It's growing under like my Santi grow lights. It seems to like those lights. It was an impulse buy. And do I regret buying it? No, I don't regret buying it because I'm learning so much by growing this Hoya. But would I ever buy it again? Absolutely not. Would I even accept a cutting from someone? Absolutely not. I am not interested in the Hoya Rebecca anymore. Especially my Hoya Sunrise looks similar, and it looks even more beautiful than this and behaves so much better. So I wouldn't go out of my way. But yes, I feel exactly the same about the Hoya Rebecca. Okay, so the next plant on our list is the Hoya walliniana inner variegated. This one is the Hoya walliniana inner variegated. I got this as a cutting. Another plant that I think you should probably just get one that's already rooted and already set up and good to go, a plant, instead of getting a cutting, because this behaves very similarly to the Hoya Heuchkeliana. A high amount of variegation, and so because of that, it makes it very difficult. It's not the finest stems I've ever seen, but it does have smaller stems, bigger than the Heuchkeliana in my opinion. But they do rot so easily. So this is my second attempt at this plant. The first one rotted so terribly. This one, I sort of learned my lesson and put it straight into a perlite, and I put it directly into the prop box. I do think this plant prefers higher humidity for rooting, that high humidity to push out the roots, and high amounts of light. It's still a bit slower growing, and it tends to drop its new leaves very easily if it's not content, if it's not 100% happy. Full version of this, Jenna's plants has, like hers is, it doesn't even look like this one. It's so beautiful. Would I repurchase it? If I do repurchase this plant, I would get one that's already fully rooted, fully established, ready to go. If you want this plant, don't get a cutting because the cuttings are very hard to root. It's a tough one. It has been difficult for me, but my point exactly. Literally the point that I was just making. This is what my walliniana innervariated looks like now. There's nothing. It went kaput. I'm so annoyed. I'm so annoyed. So needless to say, do I still think that plant is difficult? Absolutely yes. After I lost that plant, Jenna so kindly gifted me another cutting of this plant. Another cutting, would you imagine? I have tried this plant so many times. I think I even bought a plant. Like, I think it was inexpensive. I bought another one and I lost that one too. This plant is so difficult, even in semi-hydro, even when you give it the brightest light. It is so finicky. It drops leaves so easily. I absolutely love it, and I would love to have a thriving, beautiful one of these plants in my collection, but I cannot bring myself to spend more money on this plant. I just cannot. The next plant on the list is the Hoya mckillii, or the Hoya mckillii splash. Let's take a look at it. Mckillii or Michelle, I don't know how you want to say it. Some people have it with one L, some people have two L's. Splash. This Hoya, when I first saw it, I was in love with this Hoya. I love its huge paddle-like leaves with the splashing on it. It's a beautiful Hoya. I enjoy it. And I love the woody stem. I actually really like that about this Hoya, and it's beautiful. But when I got it, I got, I think, 3 leaves. And what I decided to do after having it for a long time, pawn at one time, I think I've even had it in steroid mix at one point, after months and months of doing nothing and looking like it was sort of going downhill, I decided to chop it in half, put it all over, and put it in this. Maybe a month ago, I decided to just put it into perlite. I put it in my prop box. That is when it finally decided to push out these 2 new leaves, and this new leaf here is stunning. I love this new leaf. Lots of high splashing on that leaf. It is beautiful. The other leaf, the second one, not so much, but that's okay. I'm just happy this plant did something. I do think that this plant likes higher humidity, but this plant, oh man, it was stubborn. It was very stubborn. It just did not, no matter what I did, it did not want to push out new leaves. And honestly, if I lost it, I would not repurchase this plant because it was so difficult. And I have a lot of other Hoya in my collection that don't look that much different from it, that grow a lot easier. It is not with me anymore, just like the walliniana. So since that video, I think it pushed out 2 leaves for me. I transferred it into semi-hydro. I think it was actually growing in pure perlite under a grow light, and blasted it with light, and it pushed out a couple leaves, and then it just stopped. And no matter what I did, the plant would not grow anything again. Even if I refreshed the water, fertilized it, gave it brighter light, put it in direct sunlight, I did everything that I usually do to revive a plant, to get it to do something, show signs of life. I even repotted it, and nothing worked. If anything, the repot is what broke the camel's back, and it just croaked on me after that. So the mckillii was extremely difficult. I think I've seen a lot of people say that that plant is quite slow growing for them. I am not interested in buying it again, and I'm not interested in another cutting. It's a plant that I'm just not interested any longer in growing. Also because I have so many other plants and Hoya in my collection that look so similar to it. I'm just not interested in such a difficult plant. It was a real disappointment. I actually thought that Hoya would have done a lot more for me, but yeah. Ooh, the next one is a good one. The Hoya waymaniae round leaf. Now, I've been calling it a cloudy sky for the longest time, and I got a comment saying like, it's not a cloudy sky. Okay, you might be right. It's just a round leaf. I might have been mistaken. Let's take a look and see where it all started with that. Specifically the round leaf form. So I haven't seen it around in many people's collections, and it could very well be because it's such a tricky Hoya. It has these very round, very rigid, cardboard feeling leaves. I felt like if I hit it with my knuckles, like I'd hear a sound. So this Hoya, one thing I will give it is that it's hardy. It's resilient. When I messed with it, I switched mediums quite a bit, and it took a while before it started complaining and started losing leaves. But at the same time, it did nothing. It didn't grow new leaves. I had it for months, for a long time, and it did nothing. It didn't even vine. It didn't even push out a tendril, not a treadmill. And so I decided, you know what? Let's just chop it up. Let's just chop it up and put it into water. And I decided to put it in Molly's aeroid mix. Even when I did that, I lost quite a bit of the already rooted cuttings. I lost them. This is all I have left. And I had quite a few. I had quite a few in there. And they're both pushing out new leaves. I think that plant is the biggest shocker, the biggest comeback of today's video. Let me show you. Yes. This is my Hoya waymaniae cloudy sky. I keep calling it a cloudy sky. My Hoya waymaniae round leaf. Can you imagine? I did not in a million years think that this plant would ever get so big. This is what I expected of my mckillii. This is what I expected of my walliniana. Like these plants, these other plants seemed like they were just more likely to grow for me. And this one that I had zero expectations of, it just blew me away. Do I still think the Hoya waymaniae cloudy sky, it's not a cloudy sky. Do I still think the Hoya waymaniae round leaf is a difficult plant? I do not. I don't think it's difficult. It is actually becoming, it's going into the medium range or into the easy category. I did say it. I said it. It went from being one of the hardest to one of the easiest Hoya in my collection. Like, why? Think of my rules for a Hoya that's difficult. This plant does not lose leaves easily. If it's not happy, it will simply just stop growing. It doesn't drop leaves easily. I'm not saying that it never drops leaves. Absolutely, it does. But I'm saying it will just stop growing if it's unhappy rather than dropping older leaves or new baby leaves. It holds on to leaves a lot better. It does not rot easily. Also not difficult to propagate. These vines were actually longer and I chopped them and just stuck them back in because it has so many adventitious roots, like the little baby roots that stick out on the side. It propagates so easily. It is quite flexible on light. It doesn't need grow lights. I actually think this is one of those plants that grows better under the real deal, under sunlight. When it was under grow lights, it grew a lot slower. But under natural light, in my west facing window is where it lives right now, it grows much, much faster. Especially now we have the longer days, it's summer, it's going so much faster. This plant is definitely one that will just push bare vines and it can get pretty frustrating. So I need to keep an eye on it to see if it's going to be looking for a trellis. But so far we are good. Quite resilient. It just hung in there until it got conditions that it was happy with. And it is not a pest magnet. I have never seen a pest on this. It might have had flat mites at one point when I first got it, which is probably why it wasn't growing at all. But I looked with a microscope. I didn't see anything. But anyways, I sprayed it down repeatedly. Yeah, so I was wrong. I was wrong. It did give me a run for my money in the beginning. It's only difficult when you haven't figured it out yet, you know, versus a lot of the other harder Hoya. Even when you do what you're supposed to be doing, it's still dropping leaves. It's because it's Wednesday. It'll drop a leaf. Like, it's just, yeah. Anyways, yep, a nice one. Would I repurchase this plant if I lost it? Actually, no, I wouldn't repurchase it. I like it a lot and I'm proud of the growth and the progress that we have made, but I personally would not repurchase it. I just like more like smooth looking Hoya. That's more of my preference, and it's definitely one of those unusual Hoya. So if you like those sort of crusty leaves and that kind of stuff, it's definitely for you. But if I lost it, would I accept a cutting? Absolutely, I would take a cutting and try to grow it back again. I just wouldn't spend money on replacing it. Yes, we are down to number 3, Hoya Rime Splash. Honestly, I was surprised at how difficult this Hoya was. It's the Hoya Rime Splash. This one is another, I think it's a more uncommon Hoya. I haven't seen it around too much online. I expected a little bit more from this plant. It is not overly splashy. It's not variegated. And so I thought even the splashiness in its leaves are more of a mint, not a minty, but a lighter green splash. So it's still sort of able to photosynthesize, I think. But for some reason, no matter what I do with this plant, I put it in my prop box with higher humidity, I put it under my grow lights, made the leaves become less soft. It caused them to firm back up again. It still didn't grow. So I thought, why not put it maybe in higher light? So I did, and I just ended up burning this leaf right here, and I ended up losing a leaf. It's still done nothing. Recently, I looked at its roots and they were showing signs of rot. So I cleaned it up and I put it in this one. I think a viewer suggested that maybe my vessel I had for it was too big and I should put it in a small one. And I put it in this smaller one. But now that I think about it, I feel like I should have put it in something even smaller, because I do think that a lot of Hoya refer to root before pushing out new growth. And they like to feel the bottom of their vessel before pushing out new growth. And this could be one of them. So the rime splash, that plant thing, I think I was only able to grow 1 or 2 leaves from that plant. Could it have been that that plant was a dud, or I just was messing up that plant, I kept bothering it, or it's just a slow plant? I don't know. But again, it just sat there and rotted out, and every single leaf just fell off, and it did, yeah, I lost it completely. Jenna did give me a new cutting that I currently have growing in water, and any one of the Hoya that I deem to be difficult, when I get a new one going forward, I'm just going to put it straight into semi-hydro. Fool me once, and some of them fool me twice and fool me 3 times with the walliniana, but yeah, that's embarrassing. I will just put it into semi-hydro. I think it's actually ready to be potted up. But yes, I do think the rime splash is a little bit difficult. And if I lost that one, would I try to repurchase it? No, I won't. And would I accept a cutting? Yeah, I will always accept a cutting of a rime splash. I love the glossy leaves and the splashy look. It's super cute. I really like it. I still think it's difficult just because I repotted it. I tried so many different things and it did nothing. It did nothing. So yeah. The Hoya larissa, it's a plant that I really, really wanted to do well for me. Yep, that's it. Full transparency. It's burnt, just a single leaf. I don't know. I have heard, I can't complain. And she did say it was slow. I think she also mentioned it was a little bit tricky. I can't remember her exact wording, but I remembered when I was watching the video, I was like, I don't care. I'm still gonna get it. And I did. And she was right. She was right. It's stubborn to the next level. It is determined to not grow. It has decided. It's just made that decision. It's just not gonna do it. It rots really easily. I thought it was light, and when I first got it, I burnt it. I'm sorry, that's on me, because I thought like maybe it just needed more light. Took her out of, I think I had her in like a aeroid mix, and I put her into perlite. She complained a little bit. She lost that leaf. Since I've put it in here and put it in the prop box, it has looked like it's trying to do something. I think it's family to the Hoya decii, which I've heard to be a very slow growing Hoya. You know, it's just not as fast growing and as satisfying as some of the other Hoya that I have. And so my larissa, I think I got it to push out 1 leaf for me one time, and that was it. It eventually just yellowed and just croaked. So yes, I do think it's difficult. No, I will not buy another larissa, but if I got another cutting, like someone gifted me a cutting, yes, I think I would try it again. It's one of the few Hoya on this list that I've only tried once. This one and the mckillii, I only tried these Hoya once. The larissa, because of the unique light green leaves with the yellowish sort of splashing, like a muted version of a Hoya Joy Splash, a non-glossy version. Yes, I would give it another try, but I wouldn't run out and buy another one, no. And the last Hoya on this list is the Hoya Heuchkeliana. That was number 1. Let's take a look at my original thoughts of this plant. And it is one that I have repurchased 3 times. I think it is my most repurchased plant in my entire collection, because I was so adamant that I will have a full version of this plant. The Hoya Heuchkeliana in a variegated. Most difficult plant. Hoya, I should say. Probably my most difficult out of all my houseplants. Is probably my most difficult houseplant. But yeah, it is the most difficult. I am determined, as much as I've had These are the ones that have done nothing, that have rotted out. As much as I have all these other plants that I've just showed you, this is the one plant that literally just, it will just kick the bucket on you. It is beautiful and she knows it. She knows she's stunning and she just wants to give you a hard time. No, this plant, because it's so highly variegated, look at the amount of variegation on these leaves. Very high variegation, beautiful, whitish, creamyish variegation. I think because of that, and because it doesn't have that much green on the leaves, it makes it so much harder for this plant to photosynthesize. So difficult to root. It behaves very similarly to the walliniana that I just mentioned. I believe they're of the same family and they also look and behave the same way. Needs a lot of high light and high humidity to start rooting. It is quite thirsty, which is surprising because it grows so slowly, but it could be because it's getting high amounts of light. In this list, I would say the Heuchkeliana, I think, was the hardest plant to decide whether I still felt the same or not. Let me tell you why. This is my current Hoya Heuchkeliana and it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful, but it is a bittersweet feeling for me. So since that video that you saw, I actually bought, I think, either one or two Heuchkelianas since that video. I grew them separately and then eventually I felt brave and merged the two plants together. When I went on vacation, I came back, I think I saw an aphid on it. I freaked out. I must admit, I did overreact. I think the treatment of choice that I did, the technique that I did, I think it was a bit too severe on the plant. And so I lost entirely one of the plants that I put into the pot. And so that was very disappointing. And it did put a sour taste in my mouth because, in all honesty, I've spent way too much on the Hoya Heuchkeliana, like way too much, way more than I wanted to. It's hard to gauge. So you know what, let me go by my own rules. And let's see if I still think the Hoya Heuchkeliana is difficult. Does it lose leaves easily? Yes, I want to say yes. What do you say in the comments? Let's do this one together. It's not the kind of Hoya when it's unhappy, it'll just stop growing for a little while until you figure it out. And then when you do, it'll continue pushing new leaves. No, if it's not happy, it lets you know immediately it will lose, especially the new baby leaves on the end. Does it rot easily? Absolutely. It rots like crazy. Even right here, it's has a bit that's rotting and I tried pulling it out, but it's not ready to, you know, come out. So I'm just leaving it until it lets itself go because I'm not about to try to pull it out and I pull out way more of the plant than I want to. I think I'm already seeing the answer to my question. Is it hard to propagate? Yes, it is super hard to propagate. Yeah, I've lost all of my propagations. I've lost all of them because the internodal spacings are so small. And like I said, the leaves fall off easily. When you propagate, you need leaves. Once it senses a little bit of stress of being chopped and you put it into the water or substrate, the fine vine rots so easily. Absolutely. Is it flexible with light? Like, could I let it live in a window? That's it. Do I trust this plant to handle the dynamic of a window, which is sunny days, cloudy days, rainy days? And can I trust it to live in a window on its own without consistent light from a grow light? No, I do not. I wouldn't risk it. I would put this plant only under grow lights. Is it a pest magnet? I would say no. I would at least say that about it. I've had only that one aphid one time that I saw. So as you can see, we said yes to a lot of these. As much as I'm very proud of how far my Heuchkeliana has gotten, I still think it's a tricky plant and I do think it will croak on you at any time. You never quite know. You can't trust it. And that's it. That's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. It was really fun to make that first video, but it was actually harder to make the follow-up video on whether I think these plants are still difficult or not. I don't know. Some of them that's not with me. It's sad to talk about because I try so hard to make my plants happy and to get them to thrive, and it's frustrating to talk about how you haven't figured them out. But anyways, not everything is going to thrive in my environment, and sometimes just my experience I haven't learned enough. I'm not there yet to take a plant where it needs to go, you know, to give it what it needs. I hope this video was helpful to you in some way. If you have any of these plants and are struggling with them, at least you know you're not alone. And if you aren't struggling with these plants, share your tips down below so that we can all benefit from it. Thanks again for watching. I don't know why I'm still holding this so awkwardly. I think I'm going to try putting it into direct sunlight to try to get some blooms. I will see you next time. Bye.